So AI chatbots have really been all the rave these past couple years, and more recently, one of the biggest new entrants to rise in popularity is Elon Musk's Grok AI, which is actually integrated into X, what was formerly Twitter. Now, normally to get access to Grok, you have to pay for a premium membership on X. However, there's actually a cool website that lets you play around with any AI chatbot that you want to. So I chose the newest version of Grok and I asked the AI to give us what it thinks are the top 5 best stocks to buy for 2025 and beyond. So in today's video, I'll run through these options that it gave us, and what the heck, I'll even rank them from best to worst too, sharing my own personal opinion along the way. It's always a ton of fun when we do these, so let's not waste any time. Hit that like button if you enjoy it. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it, my friends. All right, now as with all AI chatbots out there, really the more detailed and specific that you are with your question, well, the better the results will be, the better the answer will be. So for Grok, I worded my question like this. I said, give me the top 5 best stocks to buy for 2025 and beyond. I'm a long-term investor looking for brand strength, reasonable valuation, and future growth potential. Stocks 1 and 2 can be lower risk, stock 3 can be medium risk, and stocks 4 and 5 can be higher risk. Be sure to expand on the 3 important details that I mentioned with 3 bullet points and at least a couple sentences for each. And at the end of each choice, give me a quick explanation on why you categorized it as low, medium, or high risk. Also, you may only choose one stock from the Magnificent Seven. And the reason that I worded that, especially at the end there, is because AI chatbots tend to usually give the most popular, kind of safest stocks out there, like Amazon, Google, Apple, stuff like that. If you don't specify anything on there, they like to go with the safest, most popular choices. So I just told it, give us a mixture of different risk levels and only have one stock from the Magnificent Seven. You're only allowed one. And so here are the results that it gave us. All right, now starting with stock number 1, well, it immediately used up its freebie there on one Magnificent Seven stock, and it went with Microsoft, ticker symbol MSFT, which it says chosen from the Magnificent Seven for its diversified tech dominance. Now I'm fine with that. I might have gone with something like Google or Amazon instead, just because I like their current price a little more at the moment, but Microsoft is actually my number 1 largest holding in my personal portfolio, so I like it here a lot regardless. Now for brand strength, it says Microsoft is a household name with products like Windows, Office, and Azure cloud services, known for reliability and innovation. I 100% agree with that. It's a big reason why I own Microsoft too. Almost everyone, uses Windows and Office for work and school and everything else computer-wise, and Azure, of course, is the second largest cloud platform in the world, which oftentimes has even more growth than even Amazon's. So it's a huge play here on cloud, on AI, on machine learning, and Azure really helps facilitate all of that through the cloud too, so I love that. Now, reasonable valuation, Grok says, despite its size, Microsoft's forward-looking investments in AI, cloud computing, and gaming provide growth at a reasonable price, especially considering its robust financial health and consistent dividend growth. Again, I totally agree here. Microsoft is one of the most profitable companies in the world, and while the dividend is very small, it's just another nice little added bonus that they can afford to pay and grow out over time, as you can see in their growth metrics on it. And that's something they can afford to do for shareholders because of the tremendous success that they've had over the years, with sales not only reaching about $300 billion per year, but that revenue, guys, is still somehow growing at about a 14% growth rate. I mean, it's absolutely incredible for that size. So even though the stock is expensive by most valuation metrics, you arguably get what I think is really one of the best, if not the best, run company in the world, with a ton of quality for that price. Now, for future growth potential, Grok says expansion in cloud services with Azure, advancements in AI through integrations in all of its products, and potential in quantum computing position Microsoft for sustained growth. That's another huge positive for Microsoft. There, really the fact that they are now integrating, maybe slowly, but over time it's going to really ramp up, integrating artificial intelligence into all other parts of their business, and Office and Windows and cloud. This will only grow larger over time, guys. And what it really does too is it's going to be strengthening their brand, their moat, their overall business even further too. And there's even other great things that they're doing as well, like with gaming, mentioned earlier by Grok. It's becoming like the Netflix of gaming with Game Pass. It's something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough, in my opinion, with Microsoft stock, but I think it should be because it's just more evidence of how insanely good Microsoft is at generating recurring subscription revenue. It's probably my favorite thing about Microsoft, along with artificial intelligence and in Office 365 and in GitHub and in LinkedIn. The list goes on of different platforms, different areas that Microsoft generates consistent subscription revenue. And that's huge. You can't want much more than that. It's the best thing for a long-term kind of vision for a company. Now, for risk, Grok, it chose it as a low risk option. It says that its diversified revenue streams and leadership in multiple tech sectors reduce the risk. And I also agree with that. And it's why I've chosen Microsoft as our low risk option in several of my 3 stocks to buy monthly videos in the past too. I do think the stock is a little expensive at the moment, but I can't deny that it's still one of the best overall stocks in the entire market for the long term. So I'm ranking it high here at number 2 until we see what else is on this list. All right, now moving on to the next stock here. This is the other low risk option, and Grok decided to go with the finance and payment processing giant Visa, ticker symbol V, which it had this to say about it. Brand strength says Visa is synonymous with digital payments worldwide, enjoying a duopoly with MasterCard in many regions. And yeah, I definitely agree with that. Visa is very well trusted for its secure and reliable network worldwide, where they have pretty much always held the most market share apart from, China's UnionPay, but they even control more than 60% of the American market too, so it's very strong. Now for valuation, it says, while often trading at a premium due to its market position, the ongoing shift from cash to digital payments justifies the valuation, especially with its high margins and low capital expenditure needs. And yeah, I mostly agree with that too, because like Microsoft, right? This Visa, I too feel, deserves that premium price tag for that premium performance. And it's why the stock rarely ever dips, because of the very solid business and profitability that continues to get larger every year. Even coming off the pandemic fueled years of digital payment growth, their EPS is still expected to continue growing at a double-digit rate per year over the next 5 years too, is very strong. Now for future growth potential, Grok says continued global shift towards electronic payments, expansion in emerging markets, and innovations in fintech and blockchain could drive growth. And yeah, just like I showed you, Visa continues to find ways to grow. But part of it is because, of course, just really the broader market turning more digital, like Grok says, but it's also because of specific investments that Visa has made themselves too, like with Visa Direct, as well as international expansion, which continues to see higher growth rates than domestically at home. And we can see that in both their higher cross-border growth as well as higher international growth too, which I think will continue. Now for risk, it says low. Again, this was the second low risk option that it chose. And Grok says Visa's business model is less susceptible to economic downturns as it benefits from transaction volume rather than credit risk. And yeah, that's something that I've argued in the past too for why I own Visa stock myself, because they don't really face the same liability and risk as maybe banks do when people or businesses default on their loans. Visa just facilitates the transactions and charges fees for them. So it's a bit of a lower risk business model because of it. Now, they're still not nearly as large and diversified as Microsoft. So I'm keeping Microsoft above them at number 2, but Visa will go just under them at number 3. All right, now we're into here the one medium risk option that I told Grok to choose. And for this one, stock number 3, Grok gave us ASML Holding, ticker symbol ASML, which is a company that really supplies all the machinery and equipment and even software and services for manufacturing chips at scale. And it had this to say about it. It says, for brand strength, ASML is virtually the only supplier of photolithography machines for semiconductor manufacturing, a critical component in chip production. And yeah, this is true. ASML currently holds like 90% market share in photolithography and the second most in wafer fabrication equipment. So yeah, they're very dominant in chip making, which is a market that really should only become more important over time. Now, for valuation, it says given its monopoly in EUV lithography, its valuation can be justified by its indispensable role in the tech supply chain, though it might seem high due to its unique market position. So yeah, that makes sense. And actually, I would even take that a step further and say that it might even be undervalued after seeing the stock dip close to 40% recently, leaving a PEG ratio that's about the same as the sector. For being the market leader, that's a pretty attractive valuation for the long term. Now, for future growth potential, speaking of which, Grok says as demand for smaller, more powerful chips grow, while ASML's technology will be increasingly crucial. Expansion into new technologies like high NA EUV systems could drive future growth. Now, another thing that I agree with here, especially considering all the international conflict really around the world, the fact that this is a European company, they're Dutch, bodes pretty well for them supporting the West in chip manufacturing on the global stage. And I think as long as they continue to invest in R&D, which they always do every year, high amounts, there should be plenty of demand for them continuing to be successful, which we see directly in their surging financials every year. Now, for risk, again, this was the medium risk option, and it says the risk comes from its high dependency on the cyclical semiconductor industry and potential geopolitical issues affecting global supply chains. And yeah, that's really the only area that I could see some risk to, but in my opinion, it would really just be like short-term risk. As a long-term investor, cyclicality isn't something that usually bothers me. It just presents more buying opportunities. And as much as global supply chains can be disrupted and maybe affect them at any point in the future, it would only be really temporary issues for a company that I feel is just much too important to ever fail. So I actually really like ASML here for many reasons. I'm even thinking about buying some myself. I'm debating between them and Applied Materials, which are American. But with the recent dip, I'm going to rank ASML pretty high here at number 2, and I'll bump Microsoft up one spot to fit them in. All right, we're now left with the final 2 stocks, which are also the high risk options here that I told Grok to give us. Now, for stock number 4, Grok decided to go with the e-commerce giant Shopify, ticker symbol SHOP, saying this about it. Brand strength says Shopify has become the go-to platform for e-commerce businesses, known for empowering merchants with easy-to-use tools. Agreed, it's not exactly like Amazon, which is mostly, I would say, like an online marketplace, whereas Shopify instead really helps businesses set up their own online shopping platforms with various tools and apps and web building software and infrastructure, and even helping them with more in-person things like logistics and point of sale too. But overall, it's just been a huge success for them. There's high demand for the niche that they market to. For what they do, it's very high demand, with millions of merchants using Shopify, both big and small, and that's led to a ton of brand recognition and trust for anyone trying to enter the e-commerce space at various pricings and plans to help you out too. A lot of times they just go straight for Shopify, a very strong moat in my opinion. Reasonable valuation, Grok says, while high compared to traditional metrics due to its growth stock status, its expanding ecosystem and merchant solutions could justify the premium for long-term investors. And yeah, that's something that does make sense to me. And while the stock is up close to 200% in the past 5 years, it's at least lost about half its value from the pandemic highs, leaving the PEG ratio about the same as the sector median. Now, the regular P's are admittedly very high, but like Grok says, it's because this is more of a growth-oriented company. So, in my opinion, a PEG ratio that factors in growth is probably the better metric to use here to evaluate this company. And when we look at that, it actually looks, somewhat reasonable. Now, for future growth potential, Grok says, as e-commerce continues to grow globally, Shopify's potential to expand into new markets, enhance its platform, and offer more merchant services is significant. And yet, to that point, Shopify has also started integrating more services into their platform, more apps even through their Shopify App Store. There's over like 13,000 of them to help improve your business. Plus, they can even integrate other shopping sites like Amazon, Walmart, eBay, and more into your own platform, and then manage it all in one place on Shopify, which I also think is another game changer, helping them grow even further. Still growing sales right now by over 20% a year, even after the high growth pandemic years. And that's very impressive. Now, for risk, again, this was a high risk option. Grok says competition from other e commerce platforms, the need for continuous innovation, and high expectations for growth contribute to its risk profile. And yeah, that's definitely more than fair. Obviously, e commerce is a red hot, highly competitive field, but I just think that Shopify has done a pretty good job of building their brand, obviously, to the point where most customers might go with them because of the higher trust that they have with them, the higher notoriety that they feel they get with Shopify. So it just kind of leads to more trust overall too. Now, I never owned the stock myself because I'm really happy, just I think enough with owning Amazon for my exposure to e-commerce, but I would actually consider buying some Shopify too in the future. I do think that at the current valuation, it's looking fairly attractive, and it's going to be very hard to rank it here. I would say compared to Visa, they're pretty much tied in my opinion, but I think I will give Visa the slight edge here just because I feel it's maybe a little more safer for most investors out there. But, I'm putting Shopify just barely behind them at number 4. I think it's another great choice here given to us by Grok, especially, if you take the risk into account and know what you're getting into. But anyway, with that said, let's finish up with the last stock. Stock number 5, this is the other high risk option. Grok actually gave us a biotech in CRISPR Therapeutics, ticker symbol CRSP, which had this to say about it. It says, brand strength. As a pioneer in CRISPR gene editing technology, it's becoming a go-to name for potential genetic cures. 100% I agree with that. Obviously, we're not there yet in terms of reaching their full potential, and I'm sure there will be a lot of speed bumps along the way, and maybe even regulations trying to stop them, maybe trying to stop the technology because how much it could disrupt the massive pharmaceuticals industry. I don't know. I'm kind of speculating here, but at least from more of a glass half full type of perspective, it really does feel like the future of medicine could be in gene editing. It could be very disruptive, and it could be, revolutionizing healthcare. And hopefully, the hope is really that it actually starts to cure some really bad illnesses and diseases that are hard to treat. And so, in my opinion, CRISPR, the company, I think is pretty much at the forefront of that movement, and that bodes very well for them. For the valuation, Grok says, given the speculative nature of biotechnologies, especially in gene editing, its valuation hinges on future success in clinical trials. Early positive results could significantly boost its market value. And yeah, this is why it's a high risk stock, right? The valuation is rich and speculative because it's not based on historical results. It's based on what they can do in the future. Although I will say that it's currently down right now around 75% from the pandemic highs, the stock price. And that's in large part because of rising interest rates, making unprofitable companies like this much less attractive. But after that giant drop, I actually kind of like it here. And I even decided to buy a very small amount of it myself this year to speculate on for the future. Speaking of future growth potential, Grok says if successful, CRISPR could offer treatments for numerous genetic disorders, potentially transforming medicine with one-time cures for chronic or fatal diseases. And yeah, to that point, if trials do prove successful and they start gaining more approval, the market for gene editing could be substantial, covering many different diseases. So the growth can definitely be there if they have success, which we've already seen some signs of, right? Like in the approval of their Casgevy treatment last year, which was the very first CRISPR treatment to receive regulatory approval from the FDA, as well as the several partnership deals that they've been landing too. All of it, I think, bodes well for them. As for risk, this was the high risk option. Grok says the technology is still in relatively early stages with uncertainties around efficacy, safety, and regulatory approval. However, the upside, if successful, is substantial. Again, that's exactly how I feel too. I own a very small amount of it, but it's a very speculative, high-risk stock that I don't treat as a core investment. I know what I'm getting myself into with this one, and for that reason, almost by default, I kind of have to rank them in last place here at number 5, just because of how much safer I think the other stocks are with more, profitability and stuff like that. But to be honest, I actually love this list here from Grok. I think it did a very good job of giving us several different options with a mixture of growth and even value, depending on how you look at these, how you value them. But I personally would be totally fine owning any of these 5 stocks myself. So I like the list. But hey, that's my opinion. What do you guys think? Do you own any of these? Do you like these? Let me know what you think down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I want to say thank you for stopping by, for your support. I hope you're all doing well. And I thank you so much, my friends. I'll catch you in the next one. All right, take care, everybody. Bye bye.